My last view of her as she walked down the steps and out of my shabby but comfortable life was the back of her head. And I can only make sense of this if I run the film backwards. So, she turns around, faces me, looks into my vampire eyes, looks away. There is honey in her name and life in her throat. I never liked honey. I pause my memory, lest her goodbye becomes another painful hello. Memory tells me that Jean-Luc Godard's Vis-a-Vis opens on the back of Anna Karina's head, because memory is biased in favor of what once surprised us. But it doesn't open on the back of her head. It opens with the 3 views of her head demanded by all bloodsuckers. All views, that is, except the back of her head. Sinister, portrait, recto, perfect. I'd forgotten, too, that Godard was capable of subtlety. See the titles. The wider letter spacing in the center of Karina's first name, equating her with her character Nana, containing the same letters, first in reverse, then in the center, then in profile again. Acting is a hall of mirrors, and the whole story is right there in the letter forms: a beginning, freedom, and an end. When we finally reach the cafe, Godard achieves the impossible, gets us movie watchers to look all around the surface of the screen, anywhere, everywhere, except the back of the actress's head, the 4th view missing from the opening of the film. The camera is unaccustomed to this restraint, its feet locked to a spot behind her. So we notice things, like the microphone in the mirror that picks up her voice, out of focus, capturing the moment in which she tries to determine her own fate, her own character. An actress fantasizing about being in movies, unaware that there is a camera peering over her shoulder the entire time, and she breaks up with the father of her child. She's at work, pimps records for customers, asks a coworker if so-and-so is still sick, etc., all while the camera tracks. A few moments later, they chat about a short story the coworker is reading. And as we hear the story, the camera tracks distracted with our minds. Tracks as it has several times already. But this time, at the end of the motion, it turns and looks out the window at pedestrians. It no longer remembers Godard's energetic camera work. It can only turn its head to catch an eye. The final signal of its own economic value. The camera falls in love with Nana. It watches her watch Dreyer's Joan of Arc. The trials of Nana, at the beginning of this chapter, gave us the camera god looking down as she tries to steal her apartment key from her landlady. Then it watches at eye level as she looks at the uninspiring photographs. Finally, she watches the film in graphically composed shots, set against equally graphic shots in the Dreyer film. Joan, prisoner of God and prisoner of the church, declares herself free of the church, while bound hand and foot and condemned to death. If a camera can love, can the Inquisition love? What about the police? Or a philosopher? Or a critic? Given the nature of this interrogation, we worry that the film will end too soon. The mechanized motions of our stunned camera, slipping into despair, take center stage as Nana decides to try prostitution. The camera atop the vehicle first takes in shops, then, in a whip, the prostitutes. Fade out. We continue with Nana walking towards us, considering the liberating potential of the prostitute's life, the camera turning to catch the face, then continuing. It soon settles down into conveyance when she meets the first John. It accompanies, but does not participate. Then, at the hotel, it looks down on her from the same vantage point as when she tried to steal the key. It finally closes its eyes so as not to bear witness. Our camera is trapped. It waits for her to move before moving. and when she stops, it stops. It sees only the women's hair as they talk. It cannot look her in the eye. After they arrive in the cafe, Nana expresses her personal philosophy of utter responsibility for one's own actions, freedom. Afterward, her friend asks if she can introduce her guy friend to her. And she looks at us as if to say, "I'm sorry, this is not a good decision, but I made it." The friend is a pimp. She knew this. This is not our world, not our genre, but here we are. I didn't have enough money to bring her into my life permanently. Not enough fresh ideas either. Maybe she could have afforded me, but I doubt it. She arrived with my book in her hand and left with my rough drafts. I never made her any promises. The camera returns to its parabolic motion, resting at times on the back of his head, like a predator that can't make up its mind. She reveals to the pimp that she was in a film with Eddie Constantine. As in Alphaville, our senses are heightened by the presence or absence of sound. The film goes silent when she agrees to a business relationship with the pimp, as if the camera has experienced a blow to the head. Economics, logistics, and data of her new trade come at us in raw answers, and the cinema comes in hyper-composed shots that inform more than they show. The camera remains quiet and does its job. We don't know how long she's been turning tricks at this point, or how much is on the cutting room floor, but we see in Nana a new confidence. She looks at men differently, sees either their money or herself, or both. She plays the jukebox and dances. The camera sees the liveliness of her eyes and breaks off its tracks, free to follow handheld, eternally caught by her. When she heard of my children and my wife, she went silent for a full day. When masculinity went out of style, it took the best parts of us with it. The camera stays rolling without sound when Nana is asked to do something against her limits. This is the moment she loses the game. She has broken the prostitute's contract. She looks for another girl to take her place, a scapegoat. Sorrowful music begins, the same music from when we first laid eyes upon her. She learns that freedom isolates and brings death. The camera doesn't know what to do. Music plays through the end of the scene, over the chapter card, and into the next one. All that makes sense is non-diegetic sound. First in a mirror, then over a bench. Smoking, reaches out to an older man. She sits down to converse with the philosopher at the cafe. She asks about words, the dangers of words, the equivalency of thoughts and words. Her refusal of the John's request was mere words after all, but he was satisfied in the end, no? The story by Poe, read to her by the young man whose fondness has turned into love. He reads of a painter whose painting robs his wife of her vitality, eventually killing her at the last brushstroke. We are in awe, and understand now that this camera, in its last moment, will kill Nana. This is the horrible forward momentum of love. The camera is the monster in this B movie. It is a vampire in love, and it hangs its head in the end. The older I get, the less time I want to spend hating. I do not give this film any of my 7 children. Instead, I give this film myself. For love is as destructive as hate, a beast that devours even those who would not be consumed.